Hey everyone, welcome to episode, I think it's 22. We kind of always have this discussion that we don't know. It's around the 22
Ben keeps
mark.
wanting to say it though.
Yeah,
It's real persistent.
I feel like it's a formal way to introduce ourselves.
Yeah.
That it's that episode, in case people get lost like I do on what episode they're up to on podcasts and stuff. So again, we're back with our blogs for the week, training, nutrition, the client story, and the rant. So as per when I remember the right order, we're going to do training first, which happens to be my blog. And this week we're talking about group classes for fat loss. And that was the reaction I expected that I'd get from the boys.
Yep.
So as a general rule, and we'll just quickly go up and down the panel, thoughts on group classes for fat loss, Reese?
If you have time to get into the proper part of the gym, there's more benefit to that.
Yep.
If you have the confidence to come into the actual gym, do it. Like, I don't see the necessity for a class if you're training structured and training correctly.
Yep.
The necessity for a class is more fun, social environment.
Yep. Jace?
Yeah, if you do the minimum requirement for your workout for the week, so you do your training sessions and that, and I know you want some excitement and the classes do it for you, but I won't tell people to do them any other way.
Yeah.
There's definitely the camaraderie aspect to it, and sort of that group motivation. But you quite often see people that are doing it for an extended period of time. Like I'd say, even to as a beginner, it's a good option just to get in there, get started, get a training regime actually implemented. But you just see so many people plateau over a certain amount of time.
That's the thing. You see a lot of people finally making a choice to come and see a PT because they've been doing classes for years on end and nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And then once they get that structure and get that implemented in correctly, the class then becomes obsolete.
If your goal is like a bit of cardio, fitness and endurance, for sure. But if you actually want to seriously lose some fat or put on some muscle, it's not the place.
There's better ways. Better ways to do it.
Yeah, so I had a chat with a group class instructor during the week and just kind of said, well, okay, why do you do it? What do you think the benefits are? And she came back to me with the social environment thing, which we all kind of mentioned, the increased motivation, being in a room full of people, the times are scheduled, so like if you do pump every Tuesday night at 7:30, you know the people in there and you're more likely to come. It's hard to just leave, so if you're having like an off night, you might, if you're out training in the gym by yourself, you might be tempted just to, I won't do that last exercise and go home sort of thing. Usually I find if you've got a program, you won't do that anyway. It's more the people that just kind of come in and do what they feel like on the night that have that kind of mentality when they're in the gym. And one that I found a bit interesting was the competitive environment, and I'd never considered that before, especially in like your cycle classes and stuff, where you kind of want to work a little bit harder than the person next to you, which is something I never considered, so that's cool. New people in the gym have guidance without necessarily going to a PT, whether they're too intimidated to the PT for a PT or they can't afford it financially or whatever it is, and just that group support. So being able to train all the time with that group of people, you see, especially we're at Good Life at the moment, especially here, it's always like the same kind of 15 people in every class, and then there's kind of 5 that cycle through. So that kind of ties in really well. But the cons that I came up with, basically it's a repetitive session, even though like the layout may change, is it monthly? They do a new release or whatever. Essentially it's still the same thing. So it's still either cardio for an hour or...
Usually the update is usually they change the music.
Yeah.
The workouts.
They're very similar,
There'll be some tempo sort of changes in there, but generally the exercises are generally basic. So.
Yeah. So generically coached due to large numbers resulting in suboptimal form, lack of structure.
Even just the numbers.
I was blunter than that, and Michael said I had to change it.
Even just the numbers, you got 30, 40 people in a class and one person's taking care of it.
Attention to detail is
It's going to be very hard to pull people up.
100%, yeah. The lack of structure. So yes, you've got a structure there as far as someone's telling you what to do, but what I'm referring to there is like, when we write a program, it's like, okay, this is what you're going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because this, and then in 4 weeks' time, we're going to do this because this, and it all builds on itself, and it's all, deliberate. Low resistance, which means it's more than likely going to be a catabolic environment, so eating into your muscle mass yeah, you might lose some fat along the way as well. Many of them are high impact, and this is the one that kind of upsets me a little bit. And I've seen other programs encourage people to go and do group classes, and I've seen really overweight people doing up to 3 of them back to back, step, attack, and then like a thump or something. If you're overweight, resistance is bad. Like there's no
Impact's bad.
sorry, impact is bad.
Resistance can be good.
Resistance is very good. I just read the wrong word. Yeah, so like if you're already carrying extra weight, that you're putting pressure on your joints, then you're going to go run and jump and do all that kind of stuff. You will get injured. You might not attribute that injury to the fact that you've been doing impact, because it might not be directly related, but it will probably have something to do with it. Long sessions of cardio, which we've discussed to death, that you don't need to do cardio to lose fat, creates high efficiency. So like Michael said, if you want to just get fitter during your initial period of doing those classes, yes, you'll get fitter doing them, but very quickly you become adapted to doing that class. So whether it be pump or attack or whatever,
It's
you'll
the
get
lack of progression.
That's
If you're in a
Yeah.
class environment, you don't want to be the guy that's standing at the front who fails because you put too much weight on your bar.
yeah.
So people just have not got the incentive to keep pushing.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, like you get efficient at that movement, which means you calorie burn for that workout. So you see the posters out the front. Yeah, cycle class burns 1,000 calories. Once you're good at it, it might only burn 200 because your body's actually really efficient at the movements and doing that as exercise. And the last one I've got there is you'll lose muscle mass. Any others that you guys would add to those?
I think all those pros that you mentioned come back to what we initially mentioned at the start. Like all those pros are good and well, but as soon as you get someone taking care of your structure and nutrition, it does become obsolete.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned with someone not wanting to leave the gym, if they've got a program and someone's taking care of that structure for them, as you said, they're not going to be.
Yeah,
It's easy to make all those pros fit. Strength training by following a program.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It just takes it too
Yeah.
far.
Yeah.
Like
It's easier.
we really focus on technique. It's the absolute basis. But like you said, Jay's touched on it. If you're in a class where you've got 30 people, the instructor just simply cannot get to each individual and focus on getting your technique right to get the maximum out of the exercise. So you're always doing what you're going to go.
And what's the scenario when you're new to a class? Where do you stand?
Right at the back.
And where's the teacher?
Yeah,
right at the
Right at
back.
the front. So
Yeah.
you can get hurt. My biggest one's the injuries because of that scenario. Like I've got heaps of clients that do the same class or used to, and then they've got all niggly injuries, and it's just because they're just continuously doing the same thing and just
Lots of
doing it
imbalances.
wrong,
Yeah.
doing it wrong, and getting hurt and creating imbalances, and then
Yeah.
they come to us and we've got to fix them rather than working on progressing them toward their goal. They've got all these issues that can't get to their goal because they're there. So that's it. That's probably the biggest one.
So there's 3 main take-home points that I wanted basically anyone who opened this blog to read, because it probably indicates that you're interested in group classes if you're reading it. 1, pump is not a weight session. What would you describe it as?
Well, it's an endurance
metabolic
session.
conditioning, or
it's an endurance session. It's cardiovascular based still because of the time. Like there's minimal rest periods.
Lightweight.
The movements go for long periods of time, so it's tapping into the endurance energy system, the cardiovascular energy system.
Yeah.
It's not ATP based.
So
I think endurance is the key word.
yeah,
Endurance
something
at
that,
a higher load at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just
With
really
people that do hit those pump classes, it's usually because they want to increase pain.
yeah, which is wrong.
Yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
much.
You're going to be.
And that's how they're marketed too.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
problem stems a lot greater than just
Yeah.
these people coming
Of
to the class.
course.
Yeah, so, and I know you guys probably have witnessed it too, the pump squat is probably the most common thing that I see.
One quarter
It's
shallow.
the first thing
You
have
see,
to correct.
you see someone do a squat and you go almost like straight away, you've done pump class before, because it's a bomb squat, fall to the 3/4 of the way down,
Or it's-
and then stand up.
or it's
Palm
just-
out, mild hip
Yeah.
flexion.
Yeah. So yeah, like that's my main gripe with pump is the actual execution of the movements isn't great. It's not coached well, especially when you're looking at like doing those fast tempos and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I could never pick up
Execution's
the weights
not
that some
well.
people tell me about. Like even if I was doing a pump class and trying to work on my execution, Like some of the stuff I'll be doing body weight, like just
Yeah.
to get the depth. You know, everyone's
Yeah.
always talking about, oh, I've got 5 kilo plates on the bar and
Yeah.
I'll put a 2.5s on. I'm like, you're doing a squat. What do they call it? A squat track.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, no way.
Yeah, 3 minutes of squats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So point number 2, we already touched on. If you're overweight, running, jumping, bouncing, or anything else that induces impact for your joints is not ideal. And the last one.
And that, well, let's stop on that one
Yep.
just for a little bit. It's because of the force generated through the joints once you hit the ground. So if you're carrying excess weight, when you strike the floor, you know, the force then translates into your joints. So you do that repetitively, you know, you're going to have bad knees, bad ankles and stuff like that. So
opposed to weight training, when if you do it correctly, like how we teach, everything's under control. The muscles are taking the load. The joints aren't doing much of the work. They're not taking impact force.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the high karate kick is just not a really good option.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. Or the attack that kind of shuffle left and right, scissors up the man. Have you guys done the group classes ever?
Oh well, I spent 5 minutes in a combat class and it was very easy to leave. So one of them there, that's wrong. And I used to do the boxing one. And that was cool. It actually is a good class.
Yeah.
You know, but I made sure I got all my weights in, and yeah, it was just really hard to kind of partner up with someone who could work the pads.
Yeah.
Could work the pads, but other than that,
Yeah.
it actually was quite fun.
So
I
point
did,
3. Oh, sorry.
When I was training for Tough Mudder, I did pump and I did combat, and I just found in terms of just raising my endurance and overall fitness, it worked for that.
Yeah.
But in terms of, like I said before, fat loss or muscle gain, it's just not
Yeah. So like we'll dob Michael in before I kind of took over his training. Him and his mate up in Shepparton were class bunnies in there with all the chicks doing the classes. So.
He probably wasn't in there for the workouts.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Eh?
Yeah, that's probably equally as true. All right, so last point to get to, RPM and cycle are typically the closest to interval type session. I'm struggling to talk. Has no impact, and if adding a session a week to your current deliberate structure of programming, such as like the STCfit online program, that's my class of choice. So that's how my clients do. If they're going to do anything higher intensity, you have your slow down periods, your high work periods. There's no impact. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah,
Is there anything that you lean towards?
If they're not going to do the hit the way like we structure it,
Yeah.
I'm getting way too casual now. I'll sit up right. Yeah, if they're not going to do the structure the way we would like it to, and the next option from there is to do the cycle class. There's that kind of
There's
as a
that
coach,
compromise.
you meet them halfway.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a bit unselfish for someone as a coach to say you can't do any classes at all, especially like when we've got people that are going from doing 4 to 5 classes a week. So your compromise is 4 weight training sessions, maybe 1, and then I tend to find eventually that one stops because they start seeing results and they appreciate the deliberateness of the program that you've set out for them. And they're like, well, why waste an hour and 15 minutes on a bike in a dark room with fancy music when I can just do this for 20 to 25 minutes or half an hour and get in and get out and get good results. So,
Exactly. And it's that compromising period if you do get a new client that's been a class bunny. It's if they've been doing 4, as Jay said, cutting back to maybe 2 to 1, and then it's that slow change.
And that's I think that's mentioned at the start of the blog too. Is the best program is the one you follow. So as coaches, we need to be aware of that. So take home message, and it was interesting. I opened it up to the guys at the start, and we all said exactly the same thing. If you want to do group classes on top of your already deliberate, structured, resistance-based program,
Within reason.
then go ahead, as long as there's no negative effects like the ones we've mentioned. Like if you're overweight, steer clear of the impact ones.
You want it to be complementing what you're doing. So like MetaFit's probably a good one in terms of that 30-minute, actually, like you said, high intensity. Get it done. It's all body resistance stuff.
But again, MetaFit's very high impact as well.
so
just be aware.
Depend on the client.
Your personal needs.
Yeah.
Cool. So that kind of sums up our training blog for the week. Group classes only as part of the rest of your program. We'll come back and we're going to talk about, Jace has got some nutrition bombs for us. Hello and welcome to STCfit Sneak Peek.
Hey. Good to see you. Come on in, let's go. music. Looking for a better way to get up out of bed instead of getting on the internet and checking a new hit. Me get up, first shot, pimp strut walking. A little bit of humble, a little bit of cautious. Somewhere between like Rocky and Cosby's for the game. Nope, y'all can't copy yet. Bad moonwalking, and this here is our party. My posse's been on Broadway, and we did it all way. Grown music, I shed my skin and put my bones into everything I record to it. And yeah, I'm on. Let that stage light go and shine on down. Got that Bob Barker suit game and Plinko in my style. Money, stay on my craft and stick around for those pounds. But I do that to pass the torch and put on for my town. Trust me, on my INDEPENDENT shit hustling. Chasing dreams since I was 14 with the 4-track bustin'. Halfway across that city with the back, crush shit. Labels out.